Housing density in Greater Hobart will double and commercial precincts are projected to grow, according to the latest plans released by Glenorchy City Council. Following the announcement of a Hobart City deal in 2019, Glenorchy is the first of 4 councils to release their 20-year visions. With Hobart recently crowned as the least affordable city in Australia, to what extent is the Greater Glenorchy plan a solution to Hobart's growing demands? To help us answer this question is Mayor of Glenorchy, Kristie Johnston, and Senior Advisor at Glenorchy City Council, Jennifer Lawley. Good morning and welcome to the Overdeveloper.
Thank you.
Now, I'll start with you, Kristie. Glenorchy City Council is the first of 4 Hobart councils to release their 2040 visions. In general terms, what is this vision?
Look, this work really does come out of the need for us to recognise the amazing growth that we're experiencing at the moment. We have a $1.9 billion pipeline of investment happening along our rail corridor right at the moment. And this vision is really about taking those opportunities, identifying where there is opportunities for further growth and making sure that the development that we have happening in our city at the moment matches who we are as an identity, as a local community, and really does capitalise on the opportunities to connect people to work and education and their housing as well. So this vision really does talk about that particular growth corridor and how can we capitalise on the current investment that's there, but also provide leverage and opportunities for further growth along our main CBDs.
Now, the Hobart City deal was struck in 2019 between federal, state and local governments in Hobart. Can you explain how important this city deal is in shaping what's been announced by your council?
Certainly it's really critical. Within the city deal itself is a key commitment from both the state, federal and local governments to delivering passenger transport along our existing rail corridor within 5 to 10 years of the signing of the city deal. That has acted as a catalyst and provided the commitment that's needed from state and federal and local governments to the private sector to ensure that we get development along that particular corridor. So it's about making sure that we can tie up those commitments with the current investment that we already have, but also to attract new development and investment in that corridor. It's really important to note that the city deal itself sees the significance of this corridor as a standalone piece. It wasn't put into the more generic affordable housing program or the transport program. It was put into a specialised key focus area around urban renewal and city shaping because of the unique opportunities in this corridor and because of the growth we're already experiencing. So it's about leveraging that commitment from all 3 levels of government and matching it up with the investment that we're seeing at the moment and the opportunities for future investment.
And so I guess if you could talk to some of the underlying requirements as to why this city deal was important in the first place. Can you just unpack that a little bit further, particularly around sort of the journey to date?
So the city deal really recognised that we have at the moment an underutilised rail corridor. It's a disbanded freight corridor with perfect opportunity to invest in it for passenger rail at the moment. We also have along that corridor a desperate need for housing. The housing market down here in Tasmania is going gangbusters, and particularly in Hobart and the northern suburbs, where people realise that you can have an amazing lifestyle, be connected to the world here, but have a fantastic sea change, a river change lifestyle as well. We also recognise that we're having a lot of opportunities around our businesses and growth as well. We are the industrial heart of southern Tasmania. We're a very multicultural community as well. So we're seeing the art and culture sectors take off. We are the home of Mona, the Museum of Old and New Art. We are some major industrials in our area as well, and there's a lot of opportunities. So it's about the city deal was trying to capture those opportunities in various components, the housing opportunity there and the need to meet the housing supply issues, as well as the economic development opportunities, and marrying them up so that we actually have these fantastic precincts for development along an existing rail corridor, which can be used for passenger transport.
And so for those that may not be sort of on the ground in Tasmania, I mean, what is happening in terms of infrastructure and private projects? Can you talk to some of the major projects that are currently underway in Hobart?
Recently, we have a $1.9 billion worth pipeline of investment happening right at the moment. Only this week, we've approved a significant development at one of the precincts, at our Claremont precinct. It's a 315 apartment, medium density development with mixed use as well. 50 metres adjacent to where the future railway station will be. That's a $200 million project. Further up the line, we have another $200 million project with Whitestone residential development there. We have the Doyne Entertainment Centre, which is Tasmania's premium entertainment centre, right near the railway line as well. It's north-facing waterfront views, land opportunities. Again, another $200 million development in there with $75 million being contributed by the state government. The Museum of Old and New Art is right along our rail corridor as well, and that's internationally renowned, and they are always looking to invest with their hotel, their caravan park ventures, as well as a number of other opportunities that are ready at the moment for redevelopment in our more industrial areas to convert them into urban, medium density opportunities and great investment.
I'll jump across now to Senior Advisor at Glenorchy City Council, Jennifer Lawley. Jennifer, thanks for joining us. We've spoken about the plan and the rail corridor. Can you just talk to the main precincts that have been identified by the council and what kind of development is envisioned within them?
Yep. So what we've included in the Greater Glenorchy plan is really our core CBDs. So we have Glenorchy, Moona and Claremont. I'll just talk to each of those briefly. So Glenorchy CBD, it's our primary centre. It's both the civic and service heart of the LGA. It's also the closest and the largest major centre closest to Hobart CBD. It's also situated on flat ground. Hobart is known for its hilly terrain, but it's actually flat. It's also a short walk to the riverfront, and it's a short walk to the Derwent Entertainment Centre. It already has 3 established shopping villages, a very active main road. All the government services that you need to access are in Glenorchy. There's a huge range of schools, regional sporting facilities, and it's got the active rapid bus transit mall right in the heart of the CBD. So as part of the precinct plan, we're going to see that bus mall actually move and become a part of the integrated transport hub. So Glenorchy CBD, it's also has a huge growing population. It's actually growing at double the rate of Greater Hobart. Its major demographic growth market is in the age 65 and over. We think that's actually due to the fact, not only just due to the ageing population, but it's also very accessible. It's got all the services. It's a very livable area. And we're seeing that play out now with that real high demand for medium density infill in and around the CBD. We've also then got Moona CBD. So Moona is further down. It's closer to Hobart again. It's a smaller but thriving CBD, and it's the centre of the growing food and cultural precinct that's really happening around North Hobart. The light rail, if it goes ahead as light rail, it's less than 200 metres from the centre of Moona CBD. It's also relatively flat and very accessible. Moona, we're seeing a huge demand from those working families, the more young and mobile and multicultural families that want to live close to the centre of Hobart. They're the ones buying up in Moona now. We've got a huge base of industrial land in and around the CBD. So we're actually looking at rezoning that land, opening it up for medium density infill, which was a big strategic decision to come out of the Greater Glenorchy plan. The population growth rate in Moona CBD, it's growing at about 6.2% through to 2036, which is higher than Glenorchy, LGA and Greater Hobart as well. So with the precinct plan, because Moona is growing organically to a certain extent, we want to maintain the gritty high street character and the laneways that everybody loves. But the precinct plan really focuses on providing a bit more green space, a little bit more of an activated, safer pedestrian network, as well as identifying all those new mixed-use development sites. Then you've got Claremont CBD. So the Claremont CBD, it's positioned strategically right up against the rail corridor. It's also it's the closest to the river foreshore of all our CBDs, and it's in a lovely part of the north of our LGA. It's also the most northern of our LGAs. So the catchment area for Claremont is actually really big. All the new land releases are actually happening north of Claremont. So we're seeing a lot of pressure on the existing shopping centre, which is actually being loved to death. It's now got a huge catchment of people that come down to want to use the services, do their shopping, have a coffee. So the precinct plan for Claremont really focused on the fact that shopping precinct needs to grow. We need a whole new strategy for the shopping precinct. Claremont also has this amazing village green opposite the shopping precinct. So we want to see that transformed. We want to encourage it to be used for a range of outdoor recreation activities. So not a sporting field, but a space for passive recreation, and a space that all these new families that are moving into Claremont can use. So that's the 3 precincts in a nutshell.
Fantastic summary, Jennifer. Thank you very much for that. So then the vision, right, for the next 20 years is laid down within this plan. But what is the planning framework? And I guess how be they developers or investors, lodge and subsequently get approvals for applications within these areas?
Yeah. So we've got many layers of implementation already underway. It's all rather exciting. I met with some of our strategic planners just today to look at how we're moving forward with some of the rezoning that needs to happen. But I think what is really important to note is if you have a look at the precinct plans, you'll see the underutilised sites that we've identified. Most of these don't actually require rezoning. We would love to actually just sit down right now with developers. What these sites need is investment, possible land amalgamations, and a consideration of the best outcomes for the sites in the context of the vision that we've now established. So we really just want to get moving on those sites. Some of them are also partially owned by us. Some of the sites we own completely. So I encourage everyone to sit down and have a really good look at the plans themselves and have a look at those sites. And we've obviously got more work to do with the areas outside of the CBD footprints, and that work is already underway. And we'll be releasing information in the next few months as that all starts to happen.
And just finally, Jennifer, where do interested parties go to find out more information?
You really want to start with the Greater Glenorchy plan. You want to have a good look at the precinct plans themselves, print them at a good scale. You'll see at the back of the precinct plans those action lists, those action items, everything's numbered. Have a look at whether or not it was something that council can deliver, whether or not it was something we were advocating for. The projects that are identified as advocate are really those projects where it's private land and we really need landowners to come to us and developers to come to us. I think it's important to note that the Windermere Bay Development, that the one that the Mayor mentioned, that just got approved this week, and that is for 312 units and townhouses in a precinct that has never seen that sort of development before. But the developers behind that project worked with council. We worked hand in hand to make sure that they were achieving the objectives for our planning schemes, as well as our overall vision for the precinct. So it's really about getting in touch with us and having a conversation.
And just going back to you, Mayor Johnston, what's been the community response to this? I mean, what kind of engagement, but then response has the community come back with?
The community is really engaged with this whole process and really embraced the outcome and the vision. At the very start of going through this process, we talked to our community particularly about their identity to make sure that our urban built form reflected who we are as a people and as a community and felt familiar, but obviously was able to adapt and respond to the changing situation we find ourselves in and the enormous growth opportunities. So we took that character and those identities and put them right into the heart of what our precinct plans will look like. So the community are incredibly excited about these opportunities and can see the fantastic corridor that we have and the fantastic amenities that we will will have in the future, and are very keen to make it happen. So as a council, we are very much focused on being open for business to be able to make sure that this vision does come alive. It's not just a pretty drawing on a piece of paper. It actually is what's going to happen in our CBDs. And we're really focused on working with developers very closely. And as Jennifer had said, you know, that the Windermere Bay Development is an excellent example of how that close relationship with council can work to make sure we get great economic outcomes and investment outcomes for developers, but also importantly, great outcomes for our community as well.